Hello, Oracles. Where will Tesla's next factory be? We do not have anything official yet, but we do have Elon Musk discussing with President Yoon over in South Korea about how South Korea is one of the top prospects that they are looking at for a new factory location. And it looks like this is one of the top candidates that they are looking at for a giant factory location over in Asia. So of course, one of the concerns that we've been having recently is about how much time Elon has been spending focusing over on Twitter. But here we are seeing that Elon has been having discussions with President Yoon over in South Korea, discussing things about Tesla, big things, especially when it comes to factory locations. So despite all of the noise that we're getting out of this Twitter thing where everybody's saying that Elon isn't caring about Tesla anymore, what about us as Tesla investors? Elon is still focusing on Tesla. He is still doing these things. You've just got to take yourself out of the noise and realize he's still functioning. He can do what a lot of people cannot do, and that's focus on multiple things at once. So this is what's going on. This is what they're talking about when it comes to another factory location. So at this point now, we don't know if this South Korea location is going to be for the next factory or just a future factory. There's a lot of other factors involved in this, and Elon said that he considered South Korea to be one of the top candidates and would decide after reviewing investment conditions in other countries across parameters such as labor quality, technology, and production infrastructure. He is also looking to be investing about $10 billion in South Korea in 2023 when it comes to supplies. And Elon has spoken many times in the past how he wants factories to be close to supply chain just because it cuts down on logistics. They have it right there, readily available for them. They won't have to worry about shipping it around the world. We've seen how far lithium travels, nickel travels just to get to the factories. This is going to be an ideal location. So we've discussed on here many times how other places that we have thought about could be Canada. We know that he was speaking with people up in Canada. We know that Indonesia, they were speaking with the president of Indonesia as well. We also know that he recently was speaking to the president of Mexico. So there's a lot of discussions that are going on. Nothing confirmed when it comes to these other locations as far as factories go, but we have gotten a lot of information about Canada and the potential there. We got that info a few months ago. Haven't heard anything very recently about it, but we know that that was on the radar. Mexico was about a month ago. Indonesia was over the summer. So all of these things are in the talks. And again, I don't know if it's going to be the next location or if these are just all locations that we're looking at. Logistically, it would make sense for all of them to actually have their own factories. We can do South Korea, Indonesia, Canada, Mexico. All of these do make sense to make factories in. We just don't know which one the next one will be. On here, we've also discussed places such as Poland, maybe Turkey or Hungary, the UK, Japan. And you guys can let us know in the comments below where you think they should have another factory as well. So Australia could be a good one also, but I just don't know when it comes to the logistics if it's worth it to have in Australia or if the South Korea or Indonesia would be close enough for that. So again, we will see what happens in the future. But again, this is something that we have been discussing, and Elon said we might actually be hearing about it by the end of the year. So is South Korea going to be the place that we end up having a factory location announced before the end of this year? You guys can let me know in the comments. So now one of the other benefits of having a factory in South Korea is that cells that are produced there do qualify for the EV tax credit because South Korea is in a free trade agreement with the US. This was one of the stipulations. Indonesia is also in a free trade agreement with the US. So this is another good thing that could be happening for all the supplies that Tesla is going to be investing in out of South Korea as well. So just looking at the places where Tesla is investing their money, this to me is a very good sign. You know, we know that they do have that second factory or expansion that is coming over in Shanghai, but I would love to see them diversify away from China. I think China is going to be a great, strong market, but just because of the uncertainty that we do have over there, it would be nice if they could diversify away from that. God forbid we end up having something get, another COVID lockdown or whatever other decisions they make over there, we can still have a factory in the Asia Pacific region that can supply that area if something ends up happening with China. And quite honestly, with Austin still coming up with its ramp and us having Fremont, I would rather see another factory come up in the Asia Pacific region before we end up seeing one here in North America again. So I do want to see Canada. I think it's going to end up coming, but I think the Asia Pacific region would be more important right now than we would have somewhere else. Now, obviously, it's not going to be like, hey, we picked South Korea and the factory's up tomorrow. It's going to take a couple of years to get this up and running, just like it did with all of their other factories, from construction to ramp. But, this is a good start if we can get one there. And we did get a note coming out from Adam Jonas over at Morgan Stanley discussing how their bear case price target is $150 and we are approaching that. Now, they do have a base case of $330, which at this point right now is a 2x, and that is the biggest disconnect we have seen in the past 5 years. So the greatest discount we have seen in 5 years based upon their price target. So again, he cited the bear case price target of 150 due to the slowing of the economy over in China. And again, it's not a demand issue so much, it's just the economy is slowing over there, so they're getting hit by that recession. So yes, we can extrapolate that out and say, well, if the rest of the world's going to get hit with a recession, is it Tesla going to feel this? Yes, but then you also have to remember that Tesla has that pricing power that we have been talking about all year long. Tesla has the pricing power to be able to weather this storm. If we get to a point where demand starts to pull down because people aren't able to afford vehicles, Tesla has the luxury of lowering their prices to increase that demand. Now, don't forget, it's not a linear increase. It is going to be an exponential increase. You drop the price of the vehicles down by $10,000, you're going to increase the demand by way more than 10%. That's just how it works. So when we end up dropping those prices down, demand will go up significantly. Also, when Tesla drops the prices down, that means that competition will also have to drop their prices down. When they do that, don't forget, competition is already not making money on their EVs. So if they have to pull prices down even more, that means they're going to be losing even more money on their EVs. And then Tesla bringing prices down will actually make them closer to the lower end prices of ICE vehicles that are out there. And this in turn will push us closer to that price parity when it comes to ICE vehicles, then in turn brings on that valley of death even faster. So yes, while we may see this pullback if we get into a deeper recession on a global basis, this could in turn cause Tesla to create that valley of death to be even deeper. And then this is what we talked about before, where several of the companies end up going off to the wayside. They end up going bankrupt. There's even more room for Tesla to grow. And this is where production comes back in. And so again, the two scenarios that we could see playing out over the next year are we don't get into a deeper recession. We continue as we are right now. We end up seeing some demand dips in the areas that are hit by a recession like China that will end up turning around themselves. Or we will end up seeing a deeper global recession where Tesla will end up having to drop their prices on a global basis, but that's fine because costs of all of their goods are going to come down as well, which means that they can still keep up their big margins and they can still keep their pricing power, on top of the fact that we will have competition having to cut their prices even more as well just to compete with Tesla. Tesla's making big margins. Competition is not. You pay your bills with what you make on the bottom line, not by vehicles sold. Tesla will have both, and Tesla wins even bigger. So this is something we talked about way back at the beginning of the year when we were talking about a potential recession and us going into that. And it's Tesla's going to come out strong on the other side either way. If we end up getting into a deeper recession, Tesla might actually come out stronger just because there's going to be less players in the market at that point. So that's just my take on it. You guys can let me know in the comments below how you feel about that. But yes, we could be in for some more pain if that ends up happening, but that pain will actually make us stronger in the long run. And so at the time of this recording, Tesla is up 1.3%. I don't know if that has to do with the South Korea discussions about a new factory, or if it has to do with just the market kind of rebounding going into the holidays. Do not know. And this Friday, the market will be open, but it does close early at 1 p.m. Eastern time versus the 4 p.m. Eastern time that it normally closes at. So it will be closing 3 hours early. And this afternoon, we will also be getting the FOMC minutes from last month. So this, over the course of this year, has tended to kind of sometimes move the market one way or the other. But I think this time around, we kind of had a much more open Fed. So I think whatever we get for information out of these FOMC minutes aren't really going to move the stock market much, unless, in these notes, we see something about them being more dovish because of the fact that we had seen inflation come down so much. Again, we don't know, but we should be getting those minutes today, and we'll be able to dive into those later. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat. That link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, we do have a membership program and a Patreon. Those links are also in the description. Thank you so much. Have a great one.